I'm gonna text my mom. How
Okay.
do
It says done, redirecting to YouTube.
It says live already on my end.
Okay,
are you on
perfect.
YouTube?
Yes, we are live.
Hello.
Yay!
Hello.
Let me go into
So,
YouTube.
yeah, welcome to the Trauma Triple Take. We are three trauma-informed coaches ready to help people on the journey to trauma recovery. My name is Margaret. I am a trauma coach specializing in childhood trauma as well as childhood sexual assault. And here I have my two fabulous co-hosts.
Hello, I'm Mel. I am also a trauma coach, working with parental trauma specifically and childhood trauma. And then Amber.
I'm Amber. I am a trauma coach, not fully yet, but almost there. No special. I do want to dive more into like relationship type
Really?
stuff. Yeah, like
I
um
didn't know that. That's awesome.
yeah. So that's like more what I'm interested in is like, people who've been through like abusive relationships and stuff like that. And just dealing with like the trauma that comes with that and everything like that. But so that's what I'm mostly interested in to like kind of do going forward for
That's a
Awesome.
that.
perspective, honestly. I'm
Yeah,
excited about that one. Just saying. I think that you specializing in that would be really cool. I don't feel like there's a ton of trauma specialists that work with relationships and like DV situations, domestic violence situations, or like past trauma around relationships. So I think that that would be super helpful and beneficial.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, that's actually like what got me into wanting to do like this type of thing is because when I was in a bad relationship myself, I felt just like super alone and I don't know, I wish I would have had something like this, I guess, to like reach out to because the whole goal here for everybody is to kind of create a community where people can feel heard and talk about the things that they've been through and feel validated and seen. And obviously, we will keep things like anonymous, because it's dealing with some sensitive information. But that's what got me into like wanting to do this originally was just that feeling of like being so alone and just not having anybody really like because when you're in a bad situation you have to defend it to everybody and
Absolutely.
Yep.
anyways, yeah, that was a long-winded answer.
No,
No,
that's
that's
okay.
awesome, Amber. And I'm really glad that you're doing that work. The whole thing with trauma is that unfortunately, even though, roughly like half of all people in the United States experience
A
some level
lot.
of trauma, whether it's physical, emotional, what have you, there's still a huge stigma as far as recovery for that and mental health, healthcare in general. So this is what we're here for, and people need help in their relationships, especially going through a domestic violence situation. There are some resources available depending on the state you live in, depending on the laws in that state. It can be tricky. So it's really nice to have somebody for just people to talk to listen, to understand where they're coming from, and to help them, get towards a healthier situation.
You know
Yeah.
what's really awesome is Washington State actually just passed a Domestic Violence Leave Protection Act. So
Wow.
it partners with PFML, which is Paid Family Medical Leave in Washington. So if you are somebody that is a victim of domestic violence or stalking, you can get help through your employer as well. So they're legally
Oh, that's
obligated to
awesome.
protect your identity. They're legally obligated to give you accommodations in the event that you do have somebody that is doing those things and giving you time off so that you can get the space that you need in order to break that relationship.
That's really awesome.
Yep, that's awesome. I love that.
So one thing I wanted to just kind of address right off the top is kind of like our legal schmiegel, jargon, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Absolutely.
So, trauma triple take, we are not licensed therapists or licensed medical providers for the mental health system. This is not therapy. This is not to be in replacement of therapy. And if you are in crisis, or somebody that you know is in crisis, then the National Crisis Hotline number is 988. I believe that's correct. Yes.
Yep.
And so please reach out to those fantastic individuals. They will get you or whoever you know the help that they need. This forum is more just talking about mental health, trauma specifically, which is a huge umbrella of topics, and kind of like our own journeys with trauma and why we're here, how we got here. So, if it's okay with you all, I would like to start first. Um,
Absolutely.
so just kind of going with like a background of me, where I came from, what's going on. So I've kind of grown up around trauma, my whole kind of like childhood, adult life. Um, Childhood sexual assault was definitely part of my story, coming up, as a young kid. And then, divorce trauma happened there too. Lots of like, custody situations, lots of back and forth there. Pretty traumatic growing up. Then, what's funny is I had, uh, not mandated, but it's highly suggested to go see a counselor as a child. And that was kind of like even a betrayal trauma in that situation. So counseling wasn't really even very helpful or safe for me. Um,
Hmm.
and I really had thought that a lot of these issues that I grew up with were kind of put to bed. And it wasn't until I was traveling ICU nurse during COVID that I kind of got hit with this intense chest pain, intense anxiety, where I just felt like I was crawling out of my skin. And I have gone to the emergency room a couple times as a ICU nurse, looking for help, thinking I was having a heart attack or that my aorta was dissecting. And come to find out that I had anxiety, and that's what started me on this road to figuring out what was really haunting me still and how to put those demons to bed, so to speak.
Mhm.
And it led me to this 4 year long journey that, now I have, we're never fully recovered, I feel, but I have gotten through a lot of the worst of it, I think. And now things just kind of continue to heal in different ways. And I want to take the help that I've received and give it back to people, in this way. So that is my story. That's why I'm here. And
That's
whoever wants to
amazing.
go next.
It makes me laugh a little bit because I never thought about how you being a nurse, you're like your
Oh yeah.
own Google Med, like
Yeah.
for
Oh my God.
WebMD. You're like,
I was
oh my
so
God.
bad. I'm like here like 26, 20 whatever years old, and I'm like, no, no, really, like I think I'm having a heart attack. No, like, and this ER doctor's like, okay, so you're gonna want to follow up with the mental health provider. And I'm like, what? Like you're not listening to me. So anyway, yeah,
Like, that's not what it is, I
that's
swear.
not
I'm
what
a
it is.
nurse.
I'm dying. I know it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's how a lot of
That's
people
funny.
feel. Yeah. When you
Yeah,
just have that really bad anxiety and it just, yeah, feels like you're dying.
yeah,
Unfortunately, way too many people know what that's like.
yeah.
Right.
Sucked. And I'm really glad that we're through that.
Do you want to go, Melissa?
Yeah, I can go next. So I'm Mel, Melissa. Mel's
Melissa.
my
Sorry.
street name. Um,
I realized texting you earlier that I never call you Mel. I
oh,
almost did, and then I was like, I don't know why. Anyways, sorry.
I feel like I'm one of those people that just perpetually has nicknames or like
Yeah.
short names.
Yeah,
Nobody's ever thought my name should be Melissa for the most part. Like
yeah,
I've had Melanie, I've had Melody, Michelle, but nobody ever guesses Melissa. But here nor there.
Sorry.
But so my name's Mel. I grew up also in a traumatic household. My experience was a little bit different. I grew up with a parent that was more so on the narcissism BPD spectrum. And I don't like to diagnose just because I think that we don't always need diagnosis to know our realities.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just need clarifying words. But she was just very traumatized herself growing up. And she grew up in a very abusive household with a lot of alcohol issues. And that generational trauma just passed on down to her children. And so while I grew up in a situation that was not horrible, there were definitely a lot of times where it wasn't great. And it was very conflicting for me because
Mhm.
I felt like I had a roof over my head, I had the things that I needed, but I just couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And I didn't realize how much of an impact the physical and mental abuse that I was going through was really taking a toll on me as a kid and as I grew up into adulthood. I didn't even realize that what I experienced was actually physical and emotional abuse until I was almost in my 30s. And so I think that we kind of go through this, a lot of us go through some cognitive dissonance of we can't hold those two truths at the same time. We can't hold that our parents can do harm and they also make mistakes.
Mhm.
And I think that that has been my growth edge in my adult life is helping people to, I don't know, see the balance in trying to have a relationship with a parent who also had a traumatic history. Not every situation is going to be that way. I have found a decent balance with my family that's included a lot of boundaries and being willing to speak up about my feelings around things, even when it's uncomfortable. And it's helped kind of give me a little bit of a relationship with my parent without having to completely disconnect. And that is, like I said, not the case for everybody, but that is something that I've just found our generation is suddenly on this cusp of realizing that a lot of the things that our parents relied on for discipline and helping people stay within the rules was actually abuse. And so having that realization of like spanking, physical intimidation, like um mocking, all of those things are not okay. And
Yeah.
our parents didn't know that they weren't okay sometimes, and they just knew that that was the only way that they knew how to do it. And so they didn't have the same education. And I think that it's really important that we, I don't know, recognize the difference. But anyway,
Yeah.
I got really
Um,
train of thought there.
no, I wanted to add something to that really quick though. So sometimes it's also they had it a lot worse, and so they thought that their parenting skills were,
Absolutely.
like
Good.
kind, like not as bad as, what they had to deal with. So that's also part of it, I think, a lot of
That
times.
was
Absolutely.
100% part of it. For
Yeah.
my situation, my mother definitely had it worse than I did.
Yeah.
And so it was
Well,
like this, you think you had it bad. Well,
hmm.
so I
Yeah.
think that based on that though, it's been a very interesting learning curve and like trying to find myself and who I am outside of what my parents wanted me to be or who they assumed I should be. And
Mhm.
that's kind of been my path to helping others figure that out too, because it's a long
Yeah.
road and sometimes you need somebody to be there with you on the journey.
And
Absolutely.
it
And
it's still ongoing.
Mhm.
mhm.
It is,
And
it never ends.
Yeah.
to tie it back to what you said too, Melissa, like, or Mel, excuse me. I'm also an offender. I like to call you Melissa.
It's
But
okay. I'm not offended by either one.
but to tie it back to what you said too about holding the balance between, your parents are people who were traumatized themselves, for example, and then also, I think that is a huge nugget right there. And that's what's taken, like you said, it's taken also me like a long time to kind of juxtapose, I guess is the right word, I guess, to
Yeah.
look at the two of those sides of the coin. Because while like in my situation, for example, I don't think that the abuse was intentional, it still happened.
Yeah.
And
Right.
the wounds were still created, whether they were meant to or not.
Mhm.
And so just holding that information, but still knowing that my parents love me in the ways that they can, that's a hard thing to kind of like reconcile, accept, and then still carry a relationship forward, you know?
Absolutely.
I
It
personally was disconnected from my parents for a good chunk of time, just because it gave me a little second to breathe, to process these things without then lashing out and
Mhm.
like causing more harm. And now reconnected, I feel on my side of the fence or whatever, that things are a lot more okay, and I can just look at you like a person that I love and not
Mhm.
with all this added, feeling or baggage behind it. So it's been
Absolutely.
really that period of time can be really constructive for some people. So
Yeah.
100%.
And you
Yeah.
guys both mentioned it, but I think boundaries again like are just so important too when you do have those complicated relationships to really, when you do want to have a relationship and stuff, but you um yeah, have also dealt with so much and you guys both mentioned it, so I just wanted to say that again because I think boundaries are really good, like very healthy for anybody, like in any circumstance, just personal boundaries in relationships, they're very important, I
yeah,
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask some questions now that we're kind of like getting into the meat and potatoes of it.
think.
So, with looking back at your like recovery journeys and kind of like your experience with trauma, what do you feel like was the most surprising thing that you discovered?
I feel like personally, I I thought understanding my history and having the knowledge that I needed to have would make things clearer. I felt like I would start to feel less crazy. And in some aspects, yes, I do. I can catch when I am activated easier or when I am spiraling a little bit mentally, but it still um doesn't always stop the full like fold
Yeah.
just because you know about it. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
understanding how to use coping skills and, you know, journal and like do meditation and yoga and get physical exercise. All of those things are great and they definitely reduce the amount that it happens. Bless you.
Thank
But
you. Sorry.
it's okay. But I am still me as a person. Like it makes it easier, but it doesn't I can't get rid of me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that I thought that I could finally eventually work my way out of was
Mhm.
getting rid of me. And nope, that's you're stuck. I'm stuck with me.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
like wherever
learning
you
to
go,
like
there you
love
are.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have to find the things that I like about me and stop focusing so much on those things and find the things that I like about me and really hone in on those more.
Mm,
But that
preach.
wasn't what I thought the
Yeah.
journey was.
That's
And
very
that's
interesting.
super hard to when you're so used to like the negative commentary in your head, it's really hard to like find those good things and really appreciate it about yourself.
It
I
is.
think we can all, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, the most surprising thing in this trauma recovery journey was how many feelings I could experience and how many feelings had not been experienced, because I am a professional stuffer of feelings. And
Yeah.
when I started opening that Pandora's box, I was like shocked at how much was coming out that I could not control all the time, and that was
Mhm.
and how it was manifesting in other ways that didn't match.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
you kind of like do the dissection of like, why am I actually so upset about that thing? And it has nothing to do with A and everything to do with B. That
Yes.
was very surprising. And also the fact that this is a lifelong journey. I thought that if I got a few therapy sessions
Mhm.
in, really did my homework, and I was, therapizing myself and taking in all the mental health content my brain could fit, that I would get better faster,
Right?
that I would ace that test,
Yeah.
and that's not how it works. This is a lifelong discovery, and in some ways that was disappointing, but in other ways it was actually encouraging because I tried to reframe it as, and still try to reframe it as, I get to learn more about myself, and I get to keep diving into this complex person that, yes, there's PTSD associated with that, but the complex is also cool, talking about like CPTSD, complex PTSD.
Yeah.
It is cool to learn more about yourself, and exactly like you said, Mel, like learning the things that you like about yourself. It's a hard mirror to look into, but it's rewarding at the same time.
I definitely, just to piggyback off of that real quick, I didn't expect the grief that comes
Mm,
with recognizing that you will not, there's no part of you that's going to be this perfectionized ideal.
Mm.
Like
mm,
that grief is so hard to sit with sometimes, of
yeah,
like recognizing and being realistic about what I can accomplish in a lifetime.
yeah,
And that is another thing that I never expected, was the grief to be associated with that and
yeah,
having to feel those things.
yeah.
That's a good point.
And you're
Yeah.
telling me that I can't be everything that I wanted myself to be, as well as the expectations put on me by other people and, the societal expectations. I can't do it all at the same time
I can't
and
live
be like a
13
healthy
lives.
person.
Crazy. Crazy.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. I
What about
think
you, Amber?
I think for me, I agree with a lot of what you guys said. I think it is, you kind of have in your head that there's like an end, like a healed version of you, a better, not no depression, no anxiety, all of that. And it's just not the reality. It's something that you have to constantly work towards. But I think also what surprised me was also, I guess, kind of what you were saying, Margaret, bringing up a lot of like emotions that I wasn't prepared for, I guess. Even things that like I thought weren't things that bothered me anymore, or I don't know, I was just surprised at some of the reactions when you really go and talk about it, and then you get like feedback and stuff, and you're like you get different ways of thinking about situations that you have situations that like you grew up, right? So you have like these memories and it means something to you a certain way. And then it's interesting when you talk to somebody else and you get kind of a reflection of that and you can think about it in different contexts, like which I think has been one of the most helpful things about the coaching thing with you guys and everybody there. But yeah, I don't know. I was actually there's something else I was gonna say too, and I can't remember now. My thought got derailed.
That's
That's
okay.
okay. Pop it in
There's,
anytime you want.
yeah, literally. There is one thing too that I was going to say about, it's another thing that I didn't think about. There's so much.
Yeah.
That was such
I
a
know,
low
I know.
question,
There.
Margaret.
Yeah, sorry.
Just so
Yeah,
you know.
that was.
Sorry, I just had to like, start with the hard one.
But also, I didn't realize that like vulnerability doesn't always mean what you think it means when you first encounter it. So a lot of us assume vulnerability kind of means this, I'm showing you my sadness or my hurt, but that is not
Mhm.
vulnerability for everybody. There are people where it is vulnerable for them to do that. But like for me, vulnerability is being angry or
Mm,
speaking my mind and being
mm,
willing to say something that goes against the grain of what
Yeah.
somebody is saying. That's me being vulnerable. I can talk about my hurt all day long and it's not really that big of a deal for me. Like, sure,
mm,
it's sometimes cathartic in a way, or like it brings out a lot of, feelings, but it's not pushing me in the same way as being angry and contained, or being like contrarian to somebody else's opinion. those two things, that's my real vulnerability,
Mm,
because it scares the hell out of me to do those things.
mhm.
And not every, so you have to kind of understand, like, when you're looking at the array of being vulnerable, okay, what is actually vulnerable to me? Is it
Yeah.
letting something go that really bothers me? Is it being angry? Is it addressing and talking to my friends when something bothers me? Like, there are so many different portrayals of vulnerability that I don't think we fully realize when we first start entering the therapeutic idea and space.
It's a
Totally.
really good point. Absolutely. And I did
Yeah.
remember the other thing that
Yes.
I was gonna say is I was like, I find it so fascinating how amazing like the human body is. Like the
Mm.
fact that we look at these things like anxiety and stuff and we look at it as a fault, like there's something wrong with me. But there's a
Hmm.
really good reason why your body does that, like the whole nervous system. Like I found all that stuff so interesting. Like
Mhm.
um
Like the
just
autonomic nervous system stuff.
yeah, and just like how, defense mechanisms and why we react, the way that we do. And it can feel weird, but it's ultimately things that we've done to like protect ourselves, that our brain does to protect ourselves. And that's another thing is I had always kind of assumed that like if you didn't remember things from, like your childhood and stuff, that it was not like that it needed to be poked and prodded to figure it out.
Mm.
And I kind of I don't feel that way anymore because I think that usually, unless it's something that's preventing you from like moving forward, which obviously is like what we're gonna do coaching to help people move past those blockages. But other than that, sometimes it can be more traumatizing and more damaging to really dive into those things.
Mhm.
So I don't know, just I guess some different perspectives than I went into it with. So that's what that one.
Yeah,
Just
that's a really good point. I'm kind of on the same page with you, Amber. Like, where I always thought that I had to like continue to talk about the things that happened or whatever, in order to get better.
yeah, better.
But the thing is that like exactly what you're saying, reliving the trauma can be
Hmm.
re-traumatizing.
Hmm.
And so that's a really great point, and really just kind of focusing more on how those things made me feel. That
Hmm.
was so much
Yep.
harder even too because of that like emotional stuffing that I had done in my journey. It was even hard to make to like put those things together. Like to me in my mind, the events and then how I felt about them were completely separate. Which
Yes.
is so funny now looking at it because it's like, well, if I slapped you across the face, how would you feel? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not separate at all, but in the moment they were very separate. So reuniting those things and then also using tools such as like EMDR
Yeah.
in therapy has been so incredibly helpful, just to try and like, desensitize the feeling and the traumatic effect. But yeah, totally with you. It's wild.
EMDR is definitely life changing. Like,
I agree.
I
Yeah.
have no idea why. Like, and
Right.
neither do they.
Yeah.
But man, it does some amazing things.
Yeah. I remember like, it's not been that long ago since I finished, but I would sit there and I would tell my therapist, I don't understand what kind of like magic you're doing, but how do I
Voodoo.
feel so much better? I don't understand. So yeah, it's a game changer.
It
I
really
want to ask you, touching on that subject, what are some things that you have found in your journey that have been kind of like that aha moment, light bulb clicks on, like that real like magic sauce? What has been, tools that you've gathered along your journey?
For me, I feel like, so I've been in therapy for about 15 years, off and on. And I did a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy. And I do feel like there's a lot of controversy around
Yeah.
modalities.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated cognitive behavior therapy when I started, especially as somebody who intellectualizes, because if you would have started me on internal family systems or somatic therapy,
Yeah.
it would have given me the ick so
Yeah.
hard.
Woo!
I would have been like, "Bye. I'm not doing this. What
Yeah.
is this crazy woo-woo? I'm
Yeah.
out." And so I did cognitive behavioral therapy for about 8 years. And it felt like at one point I was just kind of like hitting a little bit of a wall. Like I could I had started to understand like my metacognition style and like how to think about my thinking and like how to catch when I was going into spirals. And but it was like I couldn't do anything about it at that point in time. I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, sure, I can see all the notes.
Yeah.
What do I
I
do with
see
them?
the puzzle. I
Yeah.
still can't put it together.
Yeah.
And then after that, I did internal family systems and somatic therapy with EMDR.
Mhm.
And that really changed the game for me. Like it did give me a little bit of the ick at first. And I was really open and honest about that with my therapist at the time. I was like, I don't feel like this inner child stuff is working for me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is weird. I don't like it. It's grossing me out. And she was like, okay. And so she completely switched away from it for a little bit. And slowly we started getting into like parts work and started talking about parts instead of inner children, which made it a lot more digestible. And it just really changed the game for how I was able to understand my behaviors and when they come up and understand when I'm feeling defensive. It like, and integrating that with somatic therapy was just also a huge game changer for me as well. Not only could I understand and see the like behaviors in my head and like the thoughts, but then I started understanding and seeing those behaviors in my body and understanding how they present as different parts of me. And it just really completed the whole picture for me when I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you got to modality shop, okay? Like
Oh, absolutely about modality shopping. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. But on that note, so we're using certain phrases and stuff that I don't know if everybody knows, like
that's a good point.
what they mean. Would you mind explaining like
Absolutely.
the
So
like
I can
sorry.
okay. No, you're okay. So
Like, are you, it's me.
are we voguing? No.
Right. Well, yeah, we're voguing. Oh, we're always voguing.
So CBT is cognitive behavior therapy, and a lot of those that modality focuses on action behavior consequence a lot of the time. So it looks at what your thought process was during the action, what your thought process was during the behavior, and what your thought process was during the consequence, and how those tie together. IFS is internal family systems, and that one is basically thinking about emotions as kind of different parts that live in you and different stories that they have within themselves. So your anger would be a part, and think about Inside Out. That is
Yeah.
the basis of parts work, the Disney movie.
It's a great movie.
And it really is. And then somatic experiencing and somatic work is all about energy and how it lives in your body and what it feels like and how it processes. So when you feel anxious, you might feel a lot of tension in your shoulders and like a warm heat in your stomach and like it's gripping onto your neck. And it's all about describing and explaining that experience a little bit more. And EMDR is eye movement desensitization repetition.
Repetition, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yeah, I have
There's a
Sorry.
reason
I haven't done that.
there's a reason that it is
Reprocessing. Thank you, Google.
But there's a reason it's an acronym because it's
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
But basically it's a process of describing like a scenario or specific things that like words and stuff, and it can be done different ways, but you at that time you're having your eyes move back and forth while following something, and you are thinking about the memory as that's happening, and then you stop and then describe that and then do it again. And
I'm so fascinated by that one. I've never tried it. And the fact that you guys love it, I'm like kind of
it's
sold
voodoo,
on
man.
it.
I don't
Incredible.
it is the I
Go crazy
if
then.
magic exists, that is it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it is.
Mhm.
Well, thank you for explaining.
Of course.
I just want to make sure sometimes like because we can get used to like, using certain
Absolutely.
acronyms and terms and then not everybody knows like what it is.
Yeah, I
I
appreciate you
totally
going
get
there,
that.
Amber, too. And then too, Mel, like with the EMDR, it was wild to me to so my experience with it was I'm going through the memories, and for me sound was what clicked. You can use eye movement, kind of following a red
Yes.
dot on your screen. You can do auditory, and mine was like putting on my headset and she would just have like sounds playing, one in each ear. It's that oh, I can't remember what it's called, but like
Isn't
switching between
isn't
one side of your brain to the other. Bimodal or it's like by something like that.
I think
So
it's bimodal.
yeah, something like that. But the theory is that getting out or having stimulus to both sides of your, field of vision or your hearing, or you can do tapping as well. That stimulation helps you get out of your, what I call like the lizard brain, the part of the trauma, like traumatic feeling, stuckness, whatever you want to call it.
Stuff.
And then it helps you kind of like look at it from a different perspective. Or like what would happen to me is I would do auditory, and as I'm sitting there replaying the memory, then other things will happen, and it just kind of like branches off from there. I'm a
Yeah.
very
Mhm.
visual person. So it's like I would close my eyes and I'm having this whole story play out, and it doesn't feel like that's what's healing, but it is.
Mhm.
And then you can integrate other characters into your story if you're feeling stuck or feeling like you're just starting to get agitated, anxious, what have you. There's extra resources that you create that will help you get through and through the other side. And what
Mhm.
was interesting about that experience was that the answers are already in you. And
Yes.
so you are the one kind of like creating the own solution for the problem that you're experiencing. And that's like a really cool thing that our brains and bodies can do for us.
It is really cool. It kind of reminds me of okay, so in vet medicine, they do this fun thing with like, not to compare. I mean, we are animals. So,
Yeah.
but they do this fun thing with dogs when they're trying to like clip nails or do something that might bug them. They tap them on the face
Oh,
lightly.
interesting. Yeah.
They tap them on the face lightly and like make noises, and it's to distract them from whatever else is going on. And I think like in my mind, EMDR, I have no scientific basis about this, but in my mind, EMDR kind of works that way. It's like it's getting you to focus on all of these other things while also processing what's happening. And so it's not taking you through that particular loop that you used to go through.
Yeah.
Because how memory works, right? It does
Yeah.
predictions. And so I think it's just changing the prediction model on that situation. But
Yeah.
I literally no scientific experience on that
No,
whatsoever.
I agree. And actually, diving into EMDR, like how the history of it really briefly is a woman, I can't remember who it was, but a woman was walking and she was noticing that like as she's walking, she was able to like think about her trauma in a different light, I believe is how the story goes.
Hmm.
And so that's how we discovered that people can like really get into it, and like help reprocess their trauma when they're moving their body or walking. And that's part of the somatic piece of it. But also, that's something that I'm going to be diving into with my coaching. On top of offering telehealth services, in my area, I'm also going to be doing nature walks with people
Oh,
Oh,
to
wow.
that's
try,
awesome.
yeah, to try and like use those, muscles, so to speak, to like get in the forest, get in on the
Yeah.
beach, get in nature, and let that help heal you, because it does.
It
That is
really does.
It really
Yes.
does.
as much as we hate it, it does.
Yes, yes,
No, I
exactly.
don't know if you guys have the same level of resentment as I do when somebody's like, just go for a walk when you're upset. You're like, I don't want to go for a walk.
I
I
don't
want
want
to
to
go
count to
lay in
10.
bed.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
I don't
I
want
want
to
to
count to
couch
10.
potato it.
I want to
Yeah.
punch you in the face. That's what I want to do.
Somehow, sometimes I have to take that walk out of spite. Like, fine, I'm gonna
Yeah,
take this
fine.
damn walk.
Yes. Yes.
I think just like being out in nature though, like for me, it doesn't necessarily have to be a walk. I think sometimes I'll just go and I mean, where I live, it's so pretty, so green and lots of, wildlife. And to me, like that relaxes me. That really, and it helps me think like bigger than myself. It helps me get out of my head to not just focus on like what is bothering me or what is, what I'm fixating on. Like, I'm like, yes, there's a whole world out here. There's all this and it's beautiful. And yeah. So, I mean, I know walking and stuff definitely helps too, but I know sometimes just for me, like just being in nature.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I know not everybody lives in like a pretty place,
Hey,
but
there's
I
still
think,
nature on rooftops and on
yeah, yeah,
balconies,
yeah.
and
The
it doesn't
cityscape's
matter.
beautiful.
No, oh
Absolutely.
yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So,
Grass.
another question for you guys.
Absolutely.
So Amber, you had touched on it like before, and this makes me think of the idea of like people pleasing and stuff. You had talked
Mm.
about boundaries. And so, like, how was that journey for you all, like in trauma recovery? Did you find that you were people pleasing a lot? How was that? How did you deal with that? And then how was it? How did you feel setting your first like real big girl boundary? And how did it go? Like, tell me all about it.
Oof, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Um,
As much
Yeah, how was
detail
your
as you
first
want to
big
get
girl
into.
boundary?
It's not,
I know, I
yeah,
know. I was
yeah,
like,
it's not, we don't have to get into it, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I
how
know.
was
I
that?
mean, I know I've always been a people pleaser. Like, um, just I knew that, but there were definitely like, yeah, talking about it. Um, definitely. I'm trying to think. Like, there was one time when we were, I don't remember. It might have been in one of our sessions. Talking about like I was the client and you guys like I was talking about like family patterns kind of, but not necessarily knowing it. Like I was kind of talking about my mom and like, how she is just like super nice and like just like kind of the and my sister um and then I was like, oh, I see the pattern here, like like how we all kind of,
I remember
I don't know.
that.
I remember, yeah, it was just like this, like, aha, like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, boundaries, I learned boundaries luckily a little bit like before doing the trauma stuff because so back when so I told you guys I was in like a bad relationship for a while. And then after that, like, I was like, okay, I'm out. I'm supposed to be happy and blah blah blah. And then like a year later, so I had like a whole mental breakdown. Like I just couldn't get out of bed, like couldn't do
Yeah.
anything. And now, I mean, it all makes sense. Like at the time, I didn't know. I didn't put the two together. I didn't know
Mhm.
that they were connected.
Right.
I was just like, there's something wrong with me. And obviously now I know that it was just all of that, 6.5 years, all that stress, the cortisol, like the trauma, like everything just crashing in. Like,
Mhm.
um, but so once I like got better, like when, yeah, progressed from that, I just realized like that there were people that I didn't want to let uh, in my life or at least keep in my life. Mostly like friends and stuff. So I used to be super people pleasing and I would just, put up with anybody. I would just, yeah, I just gotta be nice. Like that's just what I gotta do. And then I just got to the point where I'm like, you know what? Like, because I had a couple friends and stuff who were just very negative and it's fine. Like I I'm always willing to listen, to hear people vent. I didn't realize how much I talk with my hands until doing this. I'm like,
Oh,
my
sure. Oh,
my hands are
yeah.
going everywhere.
Right.
I didn't even think I was like
Absolutely.
a handsy person, but
No, same.
um
I'm like,
I know.
You're a handsy person, huh?
Yeah, that wasn't the right, probably not the
keep your
best
hands to yourself.
phrasing. But but there are some people who are just super draining of your energy.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously you do what you can to help people, but when there are people who just don't, it's just like constantly dragging you down, you know? Like I feel like there has to be a good give and take. And so when
Yeah.
you're just when it's all you're giving to them and they're just sucking the energy, I learned to recognize that and just, you know, I don't have like a okay, I'm not being friends with you anymore.
Yeah.
I just but you know, I just learned to like kind of keep, you know, put more distance there and stuff. And so yeah, going back, I just say think that like my biggest like boundary, I guess, that I'm most proud of is that just that I try to be very aware of people and
Mhm.
the give and take of the relationship and knowing when, you know, they're just not a good fit to be in my life,
Yeah.
basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think for me, like boundaries is it's been a learning curve for sure, like you're saying, like definitely letting people do things that I wouldn't deal with now, and also putting myself in situations that I wouldn't put myself in now.
Yeah.
And what was surprising and empowering for me was realizing that boundaries have less to do with you and more to do with me. And
Mhm.
so it's not about what you do, it's about what I do about it.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
if there's something that's absolutely not okay for me to just say in a loving way, like, it's not okay, and I love you though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like good vibes and all the things, but like no, you know? And
I
so
will say I'm
it's
not
a
there yet.
listen,
Not
I was just
that.
about to say it's a muscle we're always
It
flexing and
is.
working on. And it changed like how this whole recovery journey takes. Like it's all in waves and in cycles, and it all just continues to evolve.
Mhm.
Definitely.
I totally get that. And I feel like for me, with boundaries, I've gotten a lot better about. It definitely ebbs and flows though. Like sometimes I can be really good with it, but I have to, it took a lot of like thinking practice beforehand. Like, okay, I'm gonna, have I given this person a chance?
Mhm.
And if I have, now what?
Right.
Okay. So am I wanting to have another conversation with them and be like, you know what, this friendship isn't working out for me. Like, I'm just gonna back away. Or like, trying to give them the opportunity to, like, hey, I've given and now it is time to
It's
receive
time
it.
to receive.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
But like just being able to do it sometimes you can go a little bit further than you intend to, and it's awkward to figure out how to backtrack a little. Like
Mhm.
that's I think been the hardest thing is like learning where my line is, and when I let that line go, how do I respond in a way that will not be an overreaction, but also will still get that line understood. Like
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that
Yep.
definitely takes some practice.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, like bringing a bazooka to a knife fight. Like,
Oh
oh my
yeah,
God, I'm so great at that, and it sucks.
it does.
Yeah,
And
because
it's
here I
like,
am, like just trying to say like I want A, and here I'm like, and I said, it's just like so.
well, and then it
It's
becomes
a
all
hard
about
one.
you apologizing. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, so you know that thing?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry
May
about
have
everything.
overreacted.
Everything that I didn't said. I didn't mean any of it. I realized what my problem was. I couldn't put words to it.
Right.
Ugh,
Oh,
yeah, it's tough. Well, I just want to redirect and just like put it out there. If there's any questions from our viewers that they want answered
sorry.
about trauma recovery, coaching, anything in that umbrella, or just anything about us, we are happy to answer them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was
Um,
gonna ask if you can see like the chat, if you
yeah,
can
yeah, I see you, Forever Young, and Amber and Tyler. And yeah, anything that you guys want answered, we are here. That's what we're here for.
And thank you for
Um,
being here, anybody that is just,
absolutely.
we really appreciate it. This is our first run, our first go at it. We plan on being here every Tuesday and doing this, and we plan on integrating like your questions and comments and your story. So, oh, that was another thing. We should put our email in the chat. If can you, are you able to do that?
Yes.
Like from the account, our account?
Yes.
That way
I
people
do
can
that.
email, because that's one thing we want to do is have people email in their stories and questions and then when we go live, we'll like address it and talk about it and just have a discussion and yeah, but we would love to hear from you and love participation. We want it to be like a whole community, a whole group. That was the whole point to just, yeah, for everybody. So
Yeah, exactly. Like we are very capable of talking to each other, as we have found out in these planning
yeah.
meetings and everything. We could talk to each other for hours on end. But the point is to give back to, people, and to let them know that, like, hey,
Thank
you're not alone. We are we have gone through the same things. We are still going through some of these things.
yeah.
And we are here to help each other. The world needs a lot of help right
Yeah.
now, and a lot of people to, just arm in arm, like, let's figure this shit out together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I see this
Yep.
comment. Can you explain a little bit the difference of people pleasing versus just feeling drawn to doing things because you love making someone feel happy? Yes.
That's a really good question.
From my perspective, and again, not a therapist, just a coach, just somebody experiencing humanity at the same time as everybody else. Um, my thing is, if you love to help people and you just want to do that, and it fills your soul tank, and your love tank, do that. People need it. People need it, and that's a great thing to put out into the world. I believe in karma. And I think that, putting as much good karma as you can out there is a great thing. Um, I think the difference is when you are constantly putting energy into something that is not giving anything back, and you're putting energy into something that is harmful. That's
Yeah.
where I think that difference is. And in those situations, unfortunately, for your longevity, safety, security, peace, happiness, it is better to kind of remove yourself, just because we need that light in the world. And when you devote all that light and love and good things into something that's never gonna like churn it back out, it does end up kind of like diminishing that light a little bit. So that's my
Yeah. I
take.
wanna I wanna chime in just because I love the question because
Yeah.
I'm a people pleaser, but also I genuinely love making people happy. And so I think that's a really good distinction. And I think that you said it wonderfully about, I mean, I think that there's nothing wrong with doing nice things for people because you want to. But when you're doing it just because you feel like you have to, like you just I think for me, at least, speaking for myself, being a people pleaser is like I always wanted everybody to like me. It bugged me if somebody didn't like me. So no matter who they were, how they treated me, I would go out of my way to be nice to them, almost to like win them over or just do what I could. And that's where it gets harmful because you, we don't need to be spending energy on people who don't, like you said, like it's a give and take thing. And if they're not pouring anything into you, then it's not worth putting that energy into. So, but that's totally different than when you just help people because you genuinely want to. Like, but it's definitely, I love that question. That was such a good question. I love that it was like the first one. Um,
Absolutely.
because there's definitely a difference.
I think that I have I agree. I have a smidge of a different take though.
Oh,
For me, people pleasing is the identifier for me is resentment.
mm,
If
Mm,
I am
mm.
resentful or expecting something back, I am not doing it for the good of that person. I'm doing it because I wanted something. And
yeah.
and it helps me to identify and also let go of that resentment a little bit. because it makes me realize that I entered into a blind contract with that person that I didn't intend to
Mm.
Yeah.
enter into. And so I think a lot of people, when it comes to people pleasing, really like to do things for people, but then there is that contract that you
Mhm.
didn't realize you were adhering to, of like, well, I'm gonna do this thing, but I expect something back. And
Yeah,
so
even if that something is just being liked or something. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so, and it can be very minimal. If you are not doing it from a place of never expecting anything back, then you
Mhm.
are doing it for people pleasing.
Mm.
And you can definitely choose in relationships, like when you want to do that entry, but it's so helpful to know when you're doing it.
Mm.
Like, because there's also this idea of, what's that term? The admission to community is discomfort. And
Oh.
the reason that I like that term is because we've kind of become very disconnected in community
Yeah.
because of boundary culture in a little bit. Because we're like, oh well, I need to protect, and I need to relax, and I need to make sure I'm protecting myself, and that's great. You should make sure those things are happening. But we also have to remember that discomfort is the admission to community. And so sometimes people pleasing is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
It is not always a bad thing,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to really make sure that you're keeping check of when you're cashing in that people pleasing to other people and
Mhm.
making that
Yeah.
deposit into the bank. Like you should be
Yeah.
getting something out of it, whether that's community, whether that's relationships, whether that's, you know, friendships or family connection. Like there should be something there unless you're really just wanting to give it away.
I have
But we'll-
something with that as well.
Mhm.
And I think the difference is also the diminishment of your authentic self.
yes,
So, like,
Yeah.
if
that
I
is a
have
great addition.
to, if I'm
Yes,
going
great.
to a holiday, for example, and like I have to, host the holiday because I agreed to, even though I don't want to. So that's an example of people pleasing right there. But then if
Mhm.
on top of it, I have to put this mask of a different person that somebody expects me to be, that is not who I am, or say things that I wouldn't really say, dress how I wouldn't really want to dress, like whatever, that is absolutely an example of people pleasing. And then
Mhm.
something that I wanted to bounce off also what you said, Mel, is like, um, can you say it one more time what you said, like the discomfort and community part?
Yeah, discomfort is the admission to community. Or
Yeah.
yeah, it works that way too.
Yeah, yeah. And with that, like, I think we're
Mm.
tying it back to what we said before, like the vulnerability.
Mhm.
You kind of have to offer something in order to get something in some respects. So that's like an interesting point too of like vulnerability can be anything. And like what's her name? Brene Brown.
Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, how she says there's like courage and vulnerability. And it's like
Mhm.
totally true because you're
Absolutely.
giving yourself to somebody and hoping that they don't slam the door right in your face or reject what you're offering or what have you. So, yeah, just
Yeah.
interesting little
I
things.
sorry. It just reminded me that that was actually the hardest part of this coaching was it wasn't doing being the coach, it was being the client. Like
Sure.
having that vulnerability was tough. Like
Yeah.
those were the hardest ones. And I just think it takes a lot of courage and stuff. Like, so sorry, I know that's a little bit of a different tangent, um, but yeah, vulnerability
Okay.
is definitely it's a hard one to, especially these days with everything. I mean,
Yeah.
people are so judgmental, and so just everybody has an opinion on something, and so it makes it harder. But
And people can say anything, which is
yeah, yeah,
great.
yeah.
This
Well,
is
yeah,
great.
it is.
But
There's two
But
sides to
people
that sword.
people can say
exactly,
anything. And so
exactly.
when you're putting your stuff out there, it's like, going out in front of the world naked. You're like, this is my stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we don't like it.
He's like,
You're like, cool, I'm gonna go over here.
that fear is like, that's a big one.
But that's all
yeah,
that really ties into the resentment thing too, though, is like if you are showing up and you don't like what you're wearing and you don't feel like you can be yourself and you don't feel like you want to go, you're going to resent that event. You're going to be
yeah,
so irritated that you did it.
yep.
And
Yeah.
then you're going to be like, okay, that is exactly what that was. Like, okay, I'm people pleasing in this scenario. How can I show up in a way that doesn't make me resentful?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We have another question
Ooh.
that says, what are some exercises to prepare myself for something that might be emotionally triggering? Like a difficult conversation with a family member, so I can go into it with a calm demeanor.
Yeah. Um, personally, uh,
I have to step away just for a second, really quick. I'm sorry,
No,
but you
that's fine.
could continue on. Sorry.
personally, I feel like I know it sounds silly, but rehearsing what you want to say,
Yeah, it's a big
like
one.
knowing the points. You don't necessarily have to have it like memorized, but the things that you want to get out, say those things and make sure you know what they are. So that way, when you do come into the conversation, you know and have an idea of what you wanted to leave, leaving an impression.
Yeah,
Um, and then also breathing, remembering to like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to shake it off. And I'm going
yeah,
to take a deep breath and I'm going to shake it off.
yeah,
And sometimes you can even, it depends on the person, but you can even forewarn them a little bit. Like, I'm really nervous to have this conversation. So please bear with me. And I'm really sorry if you can hear my cat. Like,
I can, but it's okay because I have a very talkative cat too, so
she,
it's all good and we get it.
I don't know why she suddenly started to be so talkative, but
Yeah, it's all
um,
good.
but no, I would say definitely like trying to have that vulnerability of telling them ahead of time if possible. Like, hey,
Yeah,
I'm really nervous to talk about this, but it's important to me. And I think that it'll help us in our relationship more. A lot of people end up with a lot of grace around that when you do it.
yeah. And I think
Yeah.
that's a really good point. Also, like what helps me when I'm getting ready to have a difficult conversation, when I'm getting ready to lay a boundary down, because that's what's difficult for me. So like that's what it comes up is grounding myself and just knowing that like no matter what happens in this conversation, I'm gonna be okay because I got me,
That too,
and
for
like
sure.
at the end of the day, I'm going to show up for myself and I'm showing up for myself now by talking about whatever the thing is because if it's bothering you, you're going to talk about it. That's kind of, where I'm feeling this from. And just knowing that like whatever it is, I got me. I'm going to be okay and we're just going to take it one step at a time. Look at that
I'm like,
baby.
she couldn't not be held, apparently. That was the
Yes, that's
problem.
a baby. Oh,
This
what
is
a
Oh,
Shadow.
sweet. Hi, Shadow.
Everybody on the internet meet Shadow. He just
shadow.
likes to be held like a baby. So,
Well, hold that baby. You gotta hold that baby.
but no, that was a really great question, though. Like, it
Yeah,
is, there's no, I want to preface by also saying there's no way to get rid of the nerves completely.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like, part of the challenge is just going in and doing it.
yeah.
And that's never really a fun question or fun thing to have to do. But you can definitely also like promise yourself a treat afterwards.
Ooh, I like that.
Like,
Yeah.
Treat yourself.
Hmm.
I really want ice cream, so I'm gonna do this hard thing and then I'm gonna treat myself. Or like,
Yeah, that's
I
a
really
great
want to
point.
do something fun. So like it
Yeah.
just making it
Yeah.
somewhat more enjoyable for you in that experience is, for being brave is good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great point. That's a great point.
It
Amber,
can
do you
be
have
really
anything?
hard. I just know for myself, I'm somebody that I hate awkwardness with people. Like it makes me so uncomfortable. And so I'm somebody that has to like, I would rather address things. I would rather, as uncomfortable as it is, address like the elephant in the room or whatever, like,
Hmm.
so when I have something to say, it takes a lot. I get usually really nervous. It's not like I have to do it all the time, but having those hard conversations, I think being completely open and honest and kind of prefacing it, like you guys were saying, just letting them know, like straight up, like, hey, this is kind of hard for me to say, or this is, I feel a certain way right now, but there's something that I think is really important that like we should talk about, or and I just think being totally open and honest about everything, about feeling scared about it, feeling, and then just being very honest. I don't know, that's how I personally do things. And yeah, the nerves are there for sure,
Mhm.
but I just and I usually do preface with like, I'm nervous as shit right now. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm not sure how I feel about it, but da da da. Like, because it's just better to be open and honest, you know?
Yeah. And it's like at the end of the day, you have to say what's on your mind. I think that's
Yeah.
part of letting that authenticity come out and
Yeah.
letting that authentic self continue to build is like standing for what you're about,
Hmm.
and it sucks. It's not fun, but being true to yourself and what you're for and what you're not for, it kind of like gets more robust. Your authentic
Absolutely.
self becomes more robust. And then it's like after so much time, you're like, well, I don't care. This is what I have to do. I
Yeah.
have to do this. So,
I think
yeah.
that also that line that you said what you are for and what you're not for, like realizing that not everybody is for you
Yeah.
and you are not for everybody, and that is okay.
Yeah.
And that doesn't
Very
mean
good point.
anything about you. Like,
Yep.
not everybody, I mean, you can be nice
Yeah.
and you can be respectable. I mean, you don't like every coworker you've ever worked with. I'm
Right.
sure there's somebody that's driven you nuts. And I mean, that is exactly how it is in return. Like, you might not know what drives you nuts, but they've got their own special flavor. And
Right.
they're going to determine that however they're going to determine it. And that doesn't
Right.
mean something's wrong.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about this like the other day about like I in this journey have wanted to give everybody everything like as soon
Mm.
as I cuz I it's like that fear of rejection and abandonment, and like as soon as I find a friend that I'm like, "Oh my gosh, we like the same things. We giggle all the time. Like we're having so much fun." Like I immediately want to just like give them all of me.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so it's very obviously a lot to handle. But like
No, it is
but
not.
but I'm just saying their cup overfloweth with me. And so uh kind of dialing that back and just like you said, or like I said, like not every or like you said, not everybody's for you. Everybody said
Who said
Somebody
it.
it?
said.
But like not everybody's for you and you're not for everybody, and some people like are just in your life for a short period of time. Other people, you hang out with for a lot longer, and some people you do a podcast with and or a live stream or whatever we're calling it now. And but yeah, it's like it's interesting and like a lot of work figuring out who is who and what is what.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
there's a lot. And that could be family, that could be friends, that could be coworkers, that could be literally any human being on this planet. So that's like, oh my gosh, like talk about overwhelming. It's a hard thing. So,
Right?
Tyler, we hear you.
We really do.
Yes. So delving into another question that just like popped into my mind.
Let's do it.
Tyler's response was thanks for the response, well deserved treat after dealing with a narcissist in denial. So we the word narcissism gets thrown around a lot
It
in the
does.
mental health space. So like what are your very personal opinion thoughts? Because we are not, therapists, and like another TikTok creator says, I'm not a Keebler elf. And I just think that's so cute. But like what do you think about narcissism? Is it overused? Is like what are your experiences? What are your thoughts?
Can Okay, so I'm jumping right in.
Do it. Do it.
So, as a person that has a parent who is somewhere on that spectrum, I think that a lot of times we as people like to solidify things. We like
Mm,
certainty, and I think that a lot of people jump on the narcissism like label because there isn't really much of a better definition at this point in time.
Mm.
But something we have to keep in mind is there's a lot of spectrum when it comes to
Yeah.
narcissism.
Yeah.
Like, and clinical narcissism is based off of a repeated, recurring pattern over years. And sometimes narcissism can come out in people just off of one-off situations. That doesn't necessarily always mean that it's narcissistic personality disorder, but it could be narcissistic traits.
Mhm.
But it is really challenging because we don't have a lot of language yet for it,
Yeah.
right? Like we're still kind of unveiling the spectrum. Like when they first had bipolar, it was just bipolar, and then it became bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. Or
Mhm.
like ADHD when it got changed to ADHD and ADD and then back to ADHD.
Mhm.
Or
So sorry.
autism went from, being autism and Asperger's to just autism spectrum. It's the same type of situation. And it can be really hard because you don't want to invalidate the person's experience with that person around those narcissistic traits.
Absolutely.
But it's I personally don't know the solution to it. I've
Mhm.
struggled with this idea. I'm like, okay, how do I know that it's a thing, and we have a lot of people that do have very high narcissistic traits, but we've also bred an entire society
Mhm.
around having narcissistic traits. And we have moved further and further away from community, which has made that more obvious.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we have the terminology right now, personally.
Mhm.
But that is just, again, my opinion.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I am not invalidating anybody's experience with somebody that was on that narcissism spectrum.
Yeah.
Like, you knew your experience,
Yeah.
you knew what it
Yeah.
was like. And from your perspective, that person had some intense narcissistic traits.
Mhm.
And that is the part that matters, right? When you're dealing with validating your experience and your emotions.
Absolutely. Well said. And, at the end of the day, it's like we're talking, childhood trauma, whatever kind of trauma you have experienced in your life,
Mhm.
whether intentional or not, was
Absolutely.
still experienced, so that's a big thing. And talking about like what you were saying about diagnoses and things like that, we have to remember that the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, wasn't
Mhm.
created until 1952, the first rendition. We're on rendition 5.
5.
So it's mental health and mental health diagnoses and just di- eh, the mental health spectrum, psychology, psychiatry, whatever you want to call it, is very new still.
Mhm.
And we
Also,
don't know a lot of things, and we're still learning things.
also the DSM is just for insurance purposes.
Correct.
That's
Yeah.
another thing too.
Correct.
Um, it's a coding manual to know what to submit to insurance, so insurance knows what's going on.
Correct.
It is a very, very new industry, and that's kind of why I was saying like there isn't really an appropriate label at this point in time. I feel like with that sense of a spectrum, like there's just I get why people use that.
Hmm.
And I mean, but it is a spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's definitely overused, which is unfortunate because I think it's kind of diluted the actual, like people who actually have, narcissistic personality disorder, like the damage that they cause or can cause to people around them is so real and so, um, just a lot. And so I think people just throw that word around like, oh, like my ex was a narcissist because he was an asshole or this. And usually, like, first of all, those two are just not the same at all. Like, you can be an asshole,
He
you
could
can
have just been an
be,
asshole.
yeah, a good, like, that's
He's
just,
just an asshole.
and probably in this day and age, like you guys kind of brought up that most people do have some traits because we're so like social media. Everybody's like, look at me, but also that also is people misunderstand like just because you want to be seen, that's not the same either. So it's
Yeah.
really used in so many wrong ways or But like you said, I guess like if there's not like a name for it, I think it's done a disservice to people who have dealt with narcissistic abuse because that damage can be so great,
Yeah.
personally speaking. And another thing, so like people will say, you know, like NPD is really like it only affects, you know, I don't remember how much, like 1 to 5% or something.
Yeah, it's something like that.
But also they're one of the least likely to be diagnosed because
Correct.
they don't think there's anything wrong with them.
Mhm.
And
Correct.
often, if you are like in a relationship or something and you go to therapy, they often present themselves as the victim and
Mhm.
can even sometimes make the other person seem like the issue.
Mhm.
So to me, I think that it's a way underdiagnosing. Not that I'm not diagnosing it, obviously we don't have that like I think that's something that people miss oftentimes, like true narcissists, like they're not gonna go be like, oh, I need help for this. Like that's not how that works
Right.
usually. So um yeah, I think that it's sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
Just I think it's just used way too much, thrown around. But I also get why I just think again it's because then when you actually do have like a narcissistic ex or a narcissistic parent, like or likely, you know, even if they haven't been diagnosed, like um I just feel like it undermines like what that actually looks like and what again just I guess I can only think of the word damage like it can be so destructive
Mhm.
those types of people.
Well, and I think so there's two things. There's actually I know that I just went on a whole spiel about not having enough labels, but there is actually 5 different types of narcissism.
Yeah.
Which is something
Yeah.
that is newer. Which can help kind of categorize things a little bit more. But
True.
also narcissism to a degree is healthy. And I think that we also have to keep that in mind. Like
Mm.
narcissism in the idea of being self-protective,
Yeah.
it is healthy to have some like good identity and protection of self in narcissism. Like everybody is thinking about themselves. Everybody is a little bit narcissistic in
But I
that
think
spectrum. We
shouldn't
don't
in
start
that
from zero.
way shouldn't it be like separated in that way though being like I don't think that should be like just my personal opinion sorry I I don't know if I agree that it should be that should be considered narcissism. I think that's just like a general like yeah we all care about ourselves it's self-preservation you know we all have an interest in our well-being usually first um but I don't know is
Well, it's okay, but that's why it's a
This is what this is
spectrum though.
for. Yeah.
So the spectrum of narcissism exists in all of us. So there
yeah
can be
okay so
little narcissistic tendencies or extreme narcissistic tendencies. And little narcissistic tendencies are probably a more healthy, well-rounded understanding of self, protective of self, a healthy sense of confidence, a healthy sense of your own ego, right? But understanding who you are and what you want, and when something is for you and when it's not for you, and thinking about yourself in the general world at large, right? There's also like self-rejection, which is the other side of narcissism, right? Like in that spectrum. So you start to reject your identity and you start to believe that you don't have space. And that's when you start feeling low self-esteem and when you start feeling like you're not good enough and like suicidal ideation is on that end. Like there's a very healthiness starts at some form of narcissism or narcissistic traits, not narcissism as a diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So, because there's narcissism, the word, there's narcissistic traits,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's narcissistic personality disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And so, having some level of narcissistic traits is part of a healthy functioning ecosystem within ourselves.
can I ask a question on that So, okay, so if we're looking at it on a spectrum, then so true like narcissism, like I guess narcissistic personality disorder
Mhm.
is rooted in actually really low self-esteem and like self-hatred. And then it becomes like that you become angry at the world and then so it's like you have to self what is it?
Grandize,
Yeah,
like, yeah.
like that's like their way of like dealing with that to make themselves feel important. So I guess
Mhm.
like how does that like fit on the scale? Like because or maybe it's like I don't know.
So
I almost said like maybe it's a circle. Maybe it like goes back around.
it's like it's an overcorrection, right? So you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
so what can happen is not every person that has low self-esteem ends up hating and rejecting their identity and moving
Oh,
into
yeah.
suicidal ideation. The
Yeah.
other extreme is narcissistic personality disorder and like that end of the spectrum. So one is an undercorrection and rejection of self, and one is an overcorrection and inflation of self.
Mhm.
Okay. Actually, that's a really good explanation.
Yeah,
Or
of
yeah.
course. But so
Thank you.
that is why narcissistic personality disorder is about frequency and severity, not and over a long period of time, because we all contain some narcissistic traits,
Yep.
and that is somewhat healthy for all of us. Because you need to be interested in what you want to eat. You need to be interested
Mhm.
in what you do with your day. You need to be interested in how you live your life. And that technically as a definition is a narcissistic trait. Giving it away to everybody else is actually the opposite of healthy.
Mhm. Yeah, because you could have that codependency,
Mhm.
that low self-worth, all of those things where, having some I get exactly what you're talking about, Mel, like having some kind of um narcissistic traits is a good balance.
Mhm.
Like you look at it like I look at it like a audio, like you have your bass, your
Mm,
treble, your mid, like you want to have that good range where of course we're all striving for normal, right?
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
normal doesn't
normal.
exist,
Normal does.
but we're all striving for healthy and for that balance in between. I hate myself and I just whatever you think, I don't know. I don't have any opinion, whatever. To my opinion is the only one that matters and I'm the
Yeah.
only one who gets to call the shots. You know what I mean? So we're trying to find kind of that balance. So I get where
Yeah.
both of you are coming from.
No, that's
Um
very true. Yeah.
Christina said, how do you guys define narcissism? Um, I think for me, what would characterize, if we're talking about narcissism, like how the general like populace kind of understands narcissism, would be somebody who's displaying narcissistic traits, and that would be somebody who definitely like thinks they're the hot shot, king of the castle type situation. Not gender specific, but you know what I mean. And then somebody who uses people to self-actualize or to like propel their ideas. So that would be somebody who manipulates, who isolates people, who uses power and control to actualize what they want to see in the world.
Hmm.
Um, and that leads to abuse, that leads to trauma, that leads to um, like a lack of empathy. It leads to, a bunch of different like dynamics that kind of put it all together. That's my kind of, I guess, definition. What do you guys think?
So that last portion, um, I would probably actually categorize that more as like I'm gonna murder this word, and I hate this word.
Okay.
Machiavellianness.
Okay. Okay.
I freaking it's Machiavellian traits, okay? Like
Okay.
trying
All
to
right. Take
do
us
the
to
whole thing.
school. What's that?
So that it is what you're describing. So
Mhm.
Machiavellianism is the manipulation, like the
Yeah.
coercion, like trying to use people to get your will, that kind of thing. Which is part of narcissistic personality disorder.
Mhm.
Narcissism is more so an interest in self. So
Okay, I
I
get you.
would say narcissism would be, I can give an example. Like, say you're in an argument, right? Or you're in a disagreement with your partner, and you're trying to tell them that something that they did hurt you. And their entire thought process is, well, what about me? What
Yeah.
about my feelings? What about this situation? And it's not supposed to be about that. You're the one coming to them with the hurt, and they're putting it back on themselves. So it's an idea and a focus of how the world relates to them in all scenarios, and them being the primary need to fill and fix, versus being able to set that aside and address your hurt and your need in that
Yeah.
moment. And as a constant, not like it's always about them and
Yeah.
never about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that would be my thought of around what narcissism is. Just an intense focus on self.
Yeah.
Without the identifying factors of narcissistic personality disorder.
Well put.
Yeah.
Well
I know.
put.
I don't even know if I can say like I agree with both of you. Like, I'm not sure I could really say anything
I know.
different.
I think it's all, that's the whole thing, right? Is that like we're all still kind of figuring it out. And maybe in the next 20 years, 50 years, 10 years, I don't know, maybe there will be a new language to what we're all experiencing. But
Absolutely.
Yeah.
there is, you can't deny it, looking at the mental health field and, social media posts and videos and, just content around this. People are experiencing a lot of the similar, kind of phenomenons. I think the internet didn't help, to be honest,
Yeah.
because your reality is whatever you make it, and algorithms support it, right? Like, so you can find whatever you want to fit what you want to say. Um, so it's
Well,
tough.
what's interesting too is I feel like so much about I want to word this carefully. Perspective plays a huge role in how
Yeah.
we perceive.
Yeah.
Yes.
And something that we always have to take into account is understanding where our perspective ends and where somebody else's perspective begins. That doesn't mean your perspective is wrong.
Yeah.
But it is based off of your experiences, your worldviews, your understanding of what values you have. And those are all going to determine the lens with which you are viewing your perspective.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And same with the other person. And I think that plays a huge role into individualism in culture that we have right now, and how society has put us into those algorithms. It's
Mhm.
understanding the lens with which you view the world, and it puts you into a silo of information.
Yeah,
And I think we
definitely.
all just have to be a little bit more aware of that.
Yeah, it's so easy to fall into where, you're just scrolling and seeing the exact same thing that
Yeah.
it's like the internal bias, right? Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah.
That where you just like, this is what you think, this is what you see, and then that's what you think reality is. And I think what's really important and special about communities like the one we're trying to foster is that it's open to everyone,
Yeah.
and, come with love and respect, and, we got your back. And it just helps you kind of like get a little glimpse into somebody else's reality,
Yep.
somebody else's lived experience, somebody else's struggles, to where we can all connect and come back together as a community and see that we're more alike than we are different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Snaps to
Yeah.
that,
I love
Margaret.
that. Yeah. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love that.
Ryan
And
says, how would you deal with a narcissist in the workplace environment?
Ooh, that one's hard. Because like
especially if
it
like if
depends
they're in
on
a
your role.
yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
like if they're a boss, like that would be the worst. Like that would be the
Tough.
hardest, I
Duck
think,
your
to
head and
like
just do what you can.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, also malicious compliance works really well.
Oh, explain.
I know, I'm malicious. You have all these phrases. I love
I
it.
love it. Yeah. She's got the words.
I know she's got a lot of words. I'm like, what is that?
Basically, when they ask you to do something, do it to a fault. Like, even
Oh.
if you know it's wrong, do it to a fault. And
Nice.
you know when they said what they said to do, even if it was wrong because they thought they were right. And then when it comes back around that it didn't work out, you can say, well, I was just doing what I was told to do.
Oh, love that. Love that. I think
Don't
too
use
with
it for evil.
yes, well, use this advice however you're going to use
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
We are not responsible. This is an opinion only live
These
stream.
are all opinions.
We are not legally responsible for
We
your
are not.
firing. But what I would add to that too is like having dealt with people with definitely a lot of like narcissist forward traits in the
Mhm.
workplace is like document.
Document,
Email
document.
email yourself, this person did this at this time, email it to yourself. Keep it
Mhm.
in a folder. Have the receipts because
Yeah.
the biggest thing with narcissistic traits, whatever we're calling it, is gaslighting. Gaslighting.
Yeah.
It's your reality isn't what your reality is. My reality is the correct one, and this is what actually happened. And then you're left sitting here like, well, what the hell, right? Like, so have the receipts, have a witness with you whenever you're talking to that coworker, write stuff down, have a journal. And that's my biggest piece.
That's really good
Also,
advice.
go ahead.
No, it's just that's really good because
It
it's
is.
very true to have it all documented because gaslighting is definitely a big part of that and it's very
Real.
frustrating and it can make you feel insane and
Yeah.
that's a really good suggestion.
Also, one thing that I just want to point out, just because we talked about the definitions of narcissism and narcissistic traits,
Yes.
doesn't mean I'm policing them, okay?
I don't know.
You can use them however you feel. I'm not going to correct you. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a thing. But
Well, yeah.
But what I was gonna say, I worked with quite a few, I would also say, people that probably are just dicks. Let's just say dicks.
Let's say dicks. Actually, yes, I'm for this. How about instead of narcissism, narcissistic, NPD, whatever, dicks.
Dicks.
Y'all dicks.
Can I just point out really quick since we're saying that
Yes.
my mom's motto, I don't know if she's watching, but like her whole motto, like for I don't know, as long as I can remember, is just don't be a dick. That's what she's always told us kids, just don't be a dick. Like
don't be a
anyway,
dick.
okay.
But
okay, so dicks.
Continue.
I've worked with a lot of dicks. And as a lesbian, it's quite surprising. Sorry,
oh my god, I love it.
So when I've been working with them, I think it depends on the type, but some of them I've had very direct conversations with and had to really be like, because I've had bosses that have screamed in my face and I've had to be like, this is not okay. And I will not do this again. And sometimes you just have to leave. And I know that that's never what anybody wants to hear. But sometimes if you can't avoid it, if you can't like work your way around it, if you have to work in close proximity with this person, sometimes to respect your peace, you have to leave.
Yeah.
And that is the only solution. Like, it's not always the easiest solution or the nicest solution that we all want to hear, but if it's doing more damage to your mental health than you're getting from a paycheck,
it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. But it really either standing up for yourself or documenting the hell out of it. That's like two roads.
Yep.
What you got? Or peace out.
Yeah, and it's tricky when that person is your superior because
absolutely,
you're like, okay, so what do I do here? And you know what? Being in the nursing field, being in healthcare, we're fortunate to have a lot of job opportunities, but you find a lot of these personalities everywhere. So it's kind of like a who's who, a lot of people have that. And a lot of people in management, most CEOs would be under the NPD, umbrella,
Yep.
because it takes that, level of like whatever grandiose thinking, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say there's jobs everywhere. And if it just depends on what you want to do. It just depends on what you want to do and how hard you want to work. But there are jobs everywhere and you can find something else. You don't have to lower your self-worth or become a doormat for anyone in
Mhm.
any
Yes.
situation.
And
You just
sometimes
have
Absolutely.
to find it.
remembering, sorry,
No,
didn't
I
mean to.
said you just have to find it. That's it.
I was gonna say sometimes remembering too that it is just a job
Yeah.
and that this person doesn't define your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Totally.
person is a stepping stone to a different place. And unless you really are committed to working at that place for the rest of your life, which I can't imagine personally, but
There are plenty of
Yeah.
people out who do that though.
I know, and I
Yeah.
don't get it personally.
Well,
It's a life path. I don't deny that.
Yeah.
I think I would lose my mind personally. My
Yeah.
partner 100% would do that. And she's perfectly okay with that. And I am
Yeah.
proud of her for it. Like,
Yeah.
but just finding your own path, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm.
So Tyler says, ooh, let me branch on that. A
Ooh.
narcissist in the workplace that everybody knows is a POS, piece of shit, yet doesn't acknowledge it. What do you do in that situation?
Sorry.
Like everybody
Specific
knows
person
this
came to
person
mind. Like,
sucks.
yeah.
Everybody has one. Everyone has one.
Everybody has one. But okay, personally, when I enter those situations, I start to think about why does it bother me so much? Like,
Mm,
why is this bothering me so
that's
much
right.
to the point where I'm thinking about doing something else?
That's right.
I understand that, I have to work with this person. But what about their behavior is really bothering me? Is it them talking themselves up? Is it that I know sometimes there's been situations where I've wished that I could do that because they're doing it and they're getting away with it and they're getting the
Oh,
promotions. And I'm like, man, I'm so irritated with this person because they literally know nothing and they're just talking through their ass. And here they go getting all this shit. It's because I'm envious. I wish that I could do that. I wish that I could be that person that could jump those levels and go through those hoops to be able to get there. Or like sometimes the person reminds me of my mom. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
good God, you're grinding on my gears. And it's because they remind me of somebody that I didn't like, or they remind me of somebody that did wrong to me. Like, I would say that would be my first thought is like, okay, what's really bothering me about them specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really like good introspective way of looking at it of like, yeah, we can't affect what's happening outside of our own selves,
yes.
like we can't make anyone do anything.
Mhm.
It's all about how we act and react. And that's a really important thing because you can see sometimes that you're too attached to a situation, a person, a scenario, whatever, and then kind of like taking that second to just be like, why is this bothering me so much? Like, I don't care about these people, like in a loving way, like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like they don't, they're not the people that I call my family, my friends, like whatever. I just work with them. So, what is the deal here? Why am I so worked up? And just taking that few, however long it takes to take that inventory is like, that's a game changer. And just kind of like separating yourself a little bit from that. Just being like, I show up to collect a check, you know?
And I would attach it to the last
Yeah.
one too. Like,
Yeah.
I like that response better than my original one. Because also in this one, it plays to the idea of why does it bother me that everybody knows it and isn't doing anything about it?
Yeah.
Like, why is it because I feel like there's an injustice happening? Is it because I
Mm,
feel like they're not willing to live in reality? Is it because like I know for me personally, I struggle with that idea of seeing something and everybody's acting like it's not happening and
Yeah.
feeling like it's an injustice.
Right.
Like, how come we aren't doing something about this if we all know it's a
Right.
problem? And
Right.
that's actually the bigger issue, is the fact that I don't want to witness injustice.
Correct. Because that plays into my own story. You know what I mean? That's what happened to
Yeah.
me. Right.
Yes.
And so I don't want to watch that happen to somebody else,
Hmm.
whether I
I
care about them
will,
or not, because I see their humanity. Go ahead.
sorry. I will
No.
say, it can really provide like a toxic environment though, when they're just, that bad. And I will say that, I agree with like what you guys were saying. And I think that I started laughing when you said that question because like I thought of very specific people. And in those instances, I think we all just kind of knew like that this person was really difficult and that they were going to say really shitty things and that they weren't always the nicest. And I think we all just kind of like learned to like be like, okay, but also having boundaries for when they do get out of hand, like when you were
Yes.
saying about injustices and stuff. So in that case, like, I mean, I've dealt with somebody who was like kind of like bullying in a way. And can you hear? I apologize if you can hear like sound.
No.
Okay. Um, and so I think when somebody's crosses the line like that, it's really important to confront them. And whether that's with like multiple coworkers, because that can be really powerful when you have multiple people who are like, hey, like we noticed this, like we saw this, like that's not okay. Or,
Yeah.
going to like a supervisor together, like I think that that could be really powerful because everybody's like, yeah, no, that's not okay. So I think it's like for me, it's a balance of like ignoring, just being like, okay, whatever, like not letting it affect me personally, but also being aware that like when it crosses the line, that people need to like say something and actually like not let them do that.
Absolutely.
Something also that, I mean, I've seen it in corporate situations a lot. Um, I've recognized that like when it comes to corporate environments, they just don't align with my values.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, in general, the way they do practice doesn't align with my values. And so it's that idea of being in that very cutthroat, um, like ass kissing environment. It's just not who I want to be or who I
Yeah.
want to represent. And so it
Same.
took me a while to realize that in corporate environments, like I would get really dragged down and be like, God, this something is wrong and I can't figure it out and it's bugging the hell out of me. And it took me a long time to realize it was because the values didn't align. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just because I'm in a place that I'm in a room that I don't want to be in.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes it's hard to recognize the room you don't want to be in.
Yeah. And the power within yourself to say, well, I'm not going to stay here then.
Yep.
There's other
Yeah.
rooms. There's other rooms.
They're yucking my yum. I'm out.
Yeah. But we do have to acknowledge that for some people, it is really hard, like, especially
Oh,
if they have
absolutely.
been somewhere, for a really long time and they have, you know, it's a lot easier said than done. But at the end of the
Sure.
day, yeah, you have to respect yourself and your own health, your own uh, mental health, should come first for sure.
Well,
So,
and
Absolutely.
everybody has their own like financial issue, like
oh, for
situation
sure.
as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that plays a huge role also, especially in this economy. But
Yeah.
finding ways to protect yourself and protect your peace.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. Forever Young says, how would you get the person you're trying to explain how you feel to actually listen to you? When they turn and say, but I did this and that for you, is that narcissistic behavior?
So I actually, again, personally, just saying, I feel like a lot of us don't know how to actually communicate though either. In general, like a lot of people have not been taught how to have a conversation and communicate in a way that is validating somebody else's experience. And so something that works really well for me um was this thing that I learned in couples therapy. It was asking them to explain back before they interjected what they heard, and recognizing that sometimes what they hear is not what you're saying.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a huge tool.
Right?
Huge.
Like, huge tool. Being able to be
Yes.
like, I know, even in arguments, I know you said this. Like, okay, for instance, why didn't you take out the garbage? I know you said, why didn't you take out the garbage? What I heard was, why are you being stupid and not taking out the garbage?
Yep.
In the tone that you said it, right?
Yep.
So saying, I know that you didn't say that, but what I heard was, and then allowing them the opportunity to correct it also is a huge bridge in that relationship as well. So
Yeah, definitely.
asking them to tell you what they heard, and then also iterating what you hear when they're speaking as well.
hmm And I think it takes two. I think that's
It
the other
does.
thing. Like, you can, word vomit your feelings to people all day long, and you might get the response that you're looking for, and you may not. And so, what we've talked about before, like prepping that conversation, like, hey, I need to have a conversation with you about X, Y, and Z. This is when we're going to have it. This is what I want to talk about. Just kind of like, laying the groundwork. But then also, again, unfortunately, you can't make anybody have these conversations with you. You know what I mean? You can't make anybody play ball. So you have to be, unfortunately, willing to open that door and not have it be a two-way street. What were you gonna say?
One more thing. Okay.
Please.
A huge thing also is looking at how you are coming to the conversation.
Yeah.
So using I feel statements and talking about how you actually feel about the situation. Like, I feel like when the dishes aren't done, my day becomes more stressful
Yeah.
versus saying, you never do the dishes
Yeah.
or you don't do X, Y, and Z. When you use like terms along those lines, it actually brings up a lot of defensiveness
Mm-hmm.
in others to where they can't feel like they can't hear you.
Mm-hmm.
They're too busy protecting themselves in order to be able to address your needs. And so when we reduce the use of shame or blame in conversations,
Yep.
we get a lot further in personal
Absolutely.
connection.
Yeah, I
100%
think that's
agree.
huge.
Yeah. I will say I just wanted to address in this because what was the original question? I
The
can't
original question was, how would you get the person you're trying to explain how you feel, like the person you're talking
Yeah.
to actually listen to you? When they turn and say, but I did this and that for you, is that narcissistic behavior?
I wouldn't say
So
that.
I think it could be definitely manipulative though, because it depends on what they're referring to and it depends. I mean, I think that's why it's
Fair.
important, everything you just talked about as far as like tone of voice and where you're coming from and how you're hearing it. So there's so much context there that's important, but also it could be very manipulative, like because just because you've done certain things for people doesn't mean that you have to put up with their behavior. If you're trying to set boundaries, you don't have to like put up with somebody just because they're like, well, I've done this and this for you. It's like, okay, and I appreciate that. But like I still like am putting this boundary forward. You know what I mean? So I just feel
Yeah.
like that's important to say because I do feel like again, we all interpret things differently, but so when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's definitely manipulative. Like I don't like that. Um, but again, going back to all of the context, how you're hearing it, how you're saying it, and all of that.
Can I briefly play devil's advocate?
Yeah,
Would that be
Absolutely.
okay? Okay.
of course. That's what we're here having a conversation.
It is the the trauma triple take.
I know. I don't
Okay.
even know if we explained the name. I guess it's kind of self-explanatory, but anyway,
There's three of
It's-
us, three takes,
we each give our
triple
take.
trauma.
Right.
Anyway, sorry, Melissa. No.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say to the person that commented this, I am not by any means using you as an example in this situation. Like, this is not in reference to your position in this. I'm mainly being a devil's advocate to her response. But there is also manipulation tactics around doing the specific thing that is causing the but I did this, but I did that. So sometimes people can use manipulation in nitpicking or in obsessive like monitoring, and
Oh yeah.
that creates that response also.
Yeah.
So there are two sides to that coin is what could be considered manipulative. It could be manipulative for the person that is asking the question as well as the person that is answering the question.
Right. And we have to remember that in all of these, conversations and situations, people are showing up as they are in that moment.
Also,
Yes.
manipulation isn't always intentional.
Absolutely. I know there's been plenty, I mean, girl, ask my husband. There's been plenty of times when I have not come as my correct self. You know what I mean? Where I'm
Amen.
like,
Yeah.
but this and this and this and this, you know what I mean? It turns into this whole thing. uh you know People just are who they are. We're all humans walking on this earth
Mhm.
for the first time. Do you know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
um yeah, I think follow-up question from Forever Young: when do you give up trying after you have literally done all of the things you said?
Ooh, then I would not try anymore.
Yeah, I feel
That
like
would be my cue to take a step back.
Yeah. I
yeah.
guess it depends on the relationship there, if it's family, friends. But yeah, I mean that kind of goes into what we were talking about earlier about not pouring into people who aren't pouring into you. Like you
Yes.
have to, you know, really you can only give so much to somebody until
Yeah.
you're just depleting yourself. And so I agree that at least taking a step back, um, yeah, is a good.
Well, and I know, like, okay, with anxious attachment styles as well, like, not trying to prescribe what your attachment style is. I'm just thinking about the dynamic of anxious avoidant attachment and like
Mhm.
anxious people really want to push and push and push, and avoidant people are more likely to back away, back away, back away.
True. Yes.
And sometimes when you stop pushing, it gets that person to come forward
Yep.
because they're finally like recognizing that they're not unsafe. And
Yep.
that's not, again, when I use that word, that's not to say that you're doing something wrong. Like you're
Mhm.
operating in your own attachment style, nervous system. That's just giving them an opportunity to come out from their
Yeah.
experience. And so I would say giving it some space, and then if it doesn't pick up from that space, I think you have stumbled upon your answer at the same time.
Yeah. And I think where it got to me, from my example of having to walk away and then coming back to, but having to walk away, it felt like, uh, uh, to me in my body and how I was experiencing the relationship was that I couldn't continue to live a lie with myself. So, like, I could see myself masking. I could see myself becoming a different person when I'd answer the phone, or getting anxious when the phone would ring, or seeing a name appear on my screen and being like, "Oh my gosh, what do I do?" And then just like the thoughts kind of like spiraling. And
Yep.
so when it got time for me to know that I had to just kind of like remove myself from the situation, was just recognizing all of those things happening in unison really, and just being like, this is not a situation I really want to be in it right now. And
Mm-hmm.
so I left. I dealt with my stuff. I did the things that I need to do. And then I wasn't really even sure I was going to come back, and then it came to a situation where I was like, "Oh, I really like miss these people and I want to reach out." And so did that, and the rest is history. But this is just my experience. Everybody's like doing their own thing. You just kind of have to like look in yourself and see, am I diminishing myself? Am I people pleasing? Am I becoming who I don't want to be? Is this person even receptive to listening to what I have to
Yeah.
say? Are they willing to change? Am I willing to change?
Yep.
Can I also add that I think a really important question to ask yourself is if you're happy in it.
Yeah.
Are you happy how things are? Would you be happier walking away?
Yeah.
Would you be happier in a different scenario, knowing that you gave it all you could? Like you did everything on your end to be able to change the relationship, and you gave the space. And if it's still not happening, then I think you're in a place where you have to decide like either I am staying knowing and looking at the reality of what is, or I know that there's a happier destination elsewhere.
Or there's even a possibility of a happier destination.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, again, just looking back and saying, like, no matter who I end up with, if I end up with anyone, knowing that I am enough on my own, and then the other person is a supplement to that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's a big thing. Forever Young said, also discussed couples therapy, and they say no because they know you want to just make the therapist hate them.
Sorry, my face betrayed me. I was like, that's just a weird response, I feel like, personally. But I would say, I mean, you can't, okay, from a completely outside perspective where I only have a few comments based on what you're saying, I would really begin to question if this is the person that you want. I don't, in this case, I would start evaluating my values and their values to see how well they actually align and what that would look like moving forward. If you really value therapy and you find it to be beneficial, and they don't really value therapy and don't find it to be beneficial, is that something you're willing to trade on? And if you're not, that's a values mismatch. And do
Yeah.
that with multiple spaces in your life to see where the mismatches happen. I think that sometimes we get, okay, personal rant for just a moment. I was in a relationship for 14 years. And in that time, from my personal value perspective, I believed that at some point I'd gotten so far that, well, I just have to keep going. Like, we've been in this for so long. I have to keep going. Like, I don't want to just give up on what we have because it's been fine. But after leaving it and getting divorced, I realized that it wasn't giving me what I wanted and our values didn't align. We didn't have a lot that we really met in the middle on. And it was a lot of me moving my things aside and also not being willing to budge on my own end. So if I'm not willing to come to the table either, I can't.
Right.
There's only so much that can happen in that. So just kind of doing that evaluation process, I think would be really beneficial to kind of help sort out where you stand in that decision.
Can you read that one more time, Margaret? I think I like
Absolutely.
misinterpret. I can't see the chat. And
Maybe I misinterpreted it.
I-
I'm really
I-
curious.
I
No, that's
heard
okay.
it.
That's okay. Forever Young says, also discuss couples therapy, and they say no because they know you want to just make the therapist hate them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think for me, my take on it is that, it takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. Both people have to want to value the relationship enough to make it work at all costs if you want to make it work.
Mhm.
And if that's not happening, you can't want it enough for them.
Exactly. Yes.
That was a great
So
response, Margaret.
yeah,
Yeah.
and this is also from somebody who's been through couples therapy and has gone through the gambit with that. It takes two. It takes two.
It
It is
really
a
does.
big
Mhm.
commitment for yourselves, for the other person. It's like every conversation you have, you're like looking at it through a new lens. It totally changes everything. So you can't do that by yourself. And you can go to therapy all you want and do all the things, and it could even separate you further. I mean, there's just a lot of dynamics to it.
Yeah.
So you both have to want to commit to bettering yourselves as people and bettering the relationship together.
I
Couple
would
things-
be,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I would be curious if they had other options, like if they gave any ideas of like, I'm not willing to do couples therapy, but we could do this. Like, did they give any alternatives? Are they open to
That's a good question.
alternatives? Anything like that, I would be curious about.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a comment from Christina that says, when I left my marriage, I told myself that my son would have a better chance of a happy mom by myself than a mom pretending to be happy in a broken marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
and
underneath, oh, go ahead.
sorry. I was just gonna say, and kids are so much more receptive than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
And
totally.
a lot of people don't realize how much they really absorb and understand, you know, and even if they don't understand exactly what's happening, they understand how it makes them feel. They
Mhm.
can, you know, yeah, good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, two to tango, you have to be in it together. Underneath that, Christina says, love is not enough to stay in a relationship. Love makes us settle for things that are not true of our values just because of our attachment. And then she says, I think.
I agree with that personally.
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah,
it's pretty
definitely.
accurate. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that attachment really gets us some buy-in. Even when
Mhm.
a lot of times we're like, I love them and I can't
Yeah.
let them go. And then relationships take more than just buy-in though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They take active work and willingness and
And commitment,
commitment.
trust,
Loyalty, honesty,
all the things.
Say
all
it
the
with more
things.
enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Commitment,
This one.
honesty.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
take-
I just meant that it takes a lot. It's not just like, oh, I
It's
love
a
you.
job.
So it's all peachy,
No.
you know, roses, whatever people say. It's just a lot. I didn't mean to say it like that. Like, no,
I was just
it's
giving
just
you a hard
there's
time.
just a lot, yeah, that's involved in it. So
Yeah,
There really is.
absolutely. And I really appreciate the comments, the questions, all the things.
yeah,
Forever
Absolutely.
Young says, "Thank you guys. It is definitely very helpful hearing different perspectives. I really appreciate your information."
thank
So
you.
we're really, really happy to be here.
Mhm.
Feel very grateful
Yes,
to,
very grateful.
yeah. So thank you all for tuning in. Um, we've hit our
Subscribe to
2 hour.
see us next week.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
subscribe, like, whatever you do, all the
Yeah, and
things,
apparently
the
there's
alert
like
bells.
there's a bell. I don't
There's a
know.
bell
There's
for
a bell?
Check it out.
notifications. It's for
Okay.
notifications so that they can be alerted if when we go live.
Yeah.
But
There you go.
we do plan
the
on
bell.
going live every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, which is 8 Eastern.
Yeah.
Eastern.
And then
then
whatever the middle of the
whatever,
country
I
does.
know.
Right?
Sorry.
You gotta figure it out. Sorry.
Two of us are on the West Coast and then one is on the East Coast. So that's why I
Yeah.
say that. I'm not sure about the in-betweens, but
Mountain,
Bye.
Central, I don't know what y'all do, but we'll see you when we see you. You can catch us afterwards as well. And eventually we'll have a social media and all the things. But we just wanted to kind of get out here and do what we can to help. We have Forever Young says, how often will you guys be doing this? We are going to be doing this. Oh, okay, we did just answer you. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And again, our videos will be posted after the
yeah,
lives if you miss us.
yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, look at
Well,
our
thank
emails.
you.
Email in to, I will put
Yes.
it back in the chat,
Thank you so much for
T3
joining us.
live
Yes.
at proton.me if you want to email us a situation, a question, anything that you need help on.
Yep.
We're here to help.
We are. We just want to build a community for, people. We just want to help. And we're all on a journey. We're all still, it's a never ending journey. So
Let's be friends.
we're just trying to, yeah,
That's
just trying to
right.
be here for each other, build
That's
each other
right.
up, help where we can.
That's right. All right, we'll catch you guys next week. Thank you